What is going on, Pod Squad? I would like to formally introduce myself. My name is Synovia Williams. I will be your broadcaster, your spiritual mentor, your life coach, whatever you want to call your girl. But I just wanted to come on here and give you guys basically an episode, a meet and greet where you guys can hear my story or my background, or at least how I got up into this point. I will say, life just did a complete turnaround for me in 2020. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that feels that way. God had other plans. God had a completely different vision for 2024, his vision board versus my vision board, if I can be honest with you guys. I am happily married to my husband. This year will be 20 years in November that we've been married. We've been together since I was 15 years old. I'm not going to give you guys what year or give you guys my age, but November coming will be our 20-year anniversary, and we've been together for 25 years. We have two beautiful children, a beautiful son, a beautiful daughter. And this year, life has been, if I can be honest, perfect. Probably up until maybe late 2018, if I'm being honest, went through a stage where I didn't know what was going on in life. It just felt like my life was falling apart. I've always had a relationship with God, but I take that back. Thank you, Jesus. He convicted me just that quick. I've always known God, but never had an intimate relationship with him until now. So in 2020, I was called. He called me in 2020, and all I can say is I said yes, but baby, I did not know what I was saying yes to. I just knew that the way I was feeling, I didn't want to go through that feeling anymore. I didn't want to feel like my life was over. I didn't want to feel like I was in that dark place. I didn't want to just feel like I didn't know what my purpose was. So I found myself being thrown at God's feet, being forced to go at his feet and just lay down my will and submit to his, repent, ask for forgiveness, and just tell him to get me out of that dark place that I was in. And I say all of that to say, I said yes, I accepted my calling. Didn't know what I was saying yes to, but I did say yes to get this closer relationship that I have with Christ. And it has been one roller coaster. I will say that. A lot more disappointments than what I expected, than what I had hoped for. But as I walk closer with him every day, I'm now learning why all of this had to take place. And all of this, if I'm being honest, was not taught to me even as a little girl. Like, I've grown up in church. I have family members that are ministers and pastors, but nobody filled me in on this, when they said, when God calls you or when you find your purpose in life. So all of this was new to me. But I say all of that to say this has been the journey of a lifetime. 2020, we know COVID, Corona, it has been a world pandemic, but 2020, God called me. I accepted the call, and it has been a breath of fresh air. Even with the downs, if I'm being honest, they didn't feel good, but it made me so much better in the long run. I wrote my very first book. God called for me to write a book this year also. So I wrote and self-published, if I can say that, my very first book. It is called Pray and Obey, Ready or Not, Here I Come. You all are, feel free to grab that. I'll put the link in the description, but you can purchase that either on Amazon. It's available on Kindle, or you can get a signed copy from me at successwithsynovia.com. That's SuccessWithSynovia.com, successwithsynovia.com. And again, the name of that book is Pray and Obey, Ready or Not, Here I Come. I have been using Pray and Obey hashtag for quite some time, probably like 8 or 9 years on my social media. That was something God dropped in my spirit, but I never knew it would be my brand. I never knew that would be a part of my ministry. I never knew that would be the name of my very first book. So me writing that book and self-publishing that book this year was one of the many things that God equipped and called me to do. Again, not on my 2020 vision board. I also have my Pray and Obey Academy. That is where I have online courses as your spiritual mentor. I set that up. God dropped it in my spirit, basically to share the things that I've learned in my journey. Even though it's been a short journey, I've gone through so much. I've transitioned so much. I've grown so much. I've become a better person after this heart transplant that I've had, not literally, but spiritually. And I feel like the Academy is a way for you to learn more, as your spiritual mentor, spiritual tour guide. I don't just tell you, about everything about it is with the kingdom, like many do. God called for me to walk with you as your tour guide. If I'm your tour guide, not only am I walking with you, I'm checking in with you, giving you the good, the bad, and the ugly. A lot of times in church, or a lot of times with, certain sermons we watch, we only hear about the goodness of God. And yes, God is all good. He's perfect. He's holy. It doesn't get any better than him. But we tend to think he's not in it when it feels bad. And I share that ugly side, that bad side, that side that's often swept under the rug. I share, again, all of that because I feel like if we know that even when it hurts, even when it doesn't feel good, even when it's dark, even when you're confused, even when you feel like he's not there, even when you can't hear him, you can't feel him, you can't sense him, you're just confused and uncertain, you don't know if you're coming or going, you're crying yourself to sleep, God is close to the brokenhearted. So with the Pray and Obey Academy, I share all of that. I let you know if you're losing sleep over this, if you feel like your life is just going through hell and turmoil and you're in storm after storm and battle after battle and you feel defeated and you can't seem to catch a break. I share all of that about how you can find your purpose in that, how you can find your calling in that, how you can be still and know that Jesus is right there with you in that also. So again, the Pray and Obey Academy, that's something that you all can check out. I have a few free courses on there, and I also have a monthly subscription as well. Every week, I drop new content on there. I drip new content to you. You can get PDFs from me. You can get downloadable content from me. It's supported on your PC, your web browser, your smartphone, your tablet, your iPad. I support all platforms, so anyone that does sign up with that, you get online videos. It's just amazing, and I'm excited. That's also something I started this year. I also have that link in the description of this video, of this podcast, but that is called Pray and Obey Academy.thinkific.com. Make sure you check the description for this particular podcast for the actual spelling of that. Be sure to check that out. I'm excited about that. In addition to the book, in addition to the Pray and Obey Academy, I also have, or I'm a part of Kingdom Marriage Wives Unfiltered. God also, that's one of the things that I talk about in my book. The most vulnerable topic of what God shook up this year was, part of what I was going through in my marriage. And I didn't know that he was in the midst of all of that. And not to put too much out there, make sure you guys grab the book or join the Kingdom Marriage Wives Unfiltered. That's on my Facebook. You guys feel free to friend me on Facebook as well, so you can be invited into that. I will say it's just for the ladies only. But I share about the purpose of my marriage. God made a promise to me that my marriage would be a testament of his grace and his glory, that he was going to let my marriage reflect the kingdom. So therefore, I could go back out, and show other women how to have kingdom marriages in their home, how to have kingdom mindsets, how to show God, even if your marriage doesn't feel like it's on one accord, God has purpose in that too. And a lot of times we often feel like God is not in the attacks. Sometimes he orchestrates those attacks. And I'm not saying God sets out and just like, you're going to be attacked. You're going to be attacked. No, but there's some chaos and some storms that go on in our life that God orchestrated that, or they're often ones that he allowed. We got to get out of that mindset of thinking that the enemy is behind everything. There is nothing that the enemy can do that God didn't allow him to do. It's not like the devil can catch God, catch him by surprise, catch him off guard. That's not how it works. So any attacks that you're in, whether that's in your marriage, whether that's in a relationship, whether that's in your home, whether that's personal, whether that's business, whether that's an eternal battle that you're going through, there is nothing that the enemy can do that God has not allowed him to do. But our job is to find out, to seek God, to get closer to God, to stay in God's presence, to have a more intimate relationship with God, to ask him, why am I in this situation? What are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to show me? You have me here for a reason. I can't catch a break. I don't like how I'm feeling. I don't like what I'm going through, but I know you have me here for a reason. Show me the things that I don't see. Show me my purpose here. Show me why you're allowing this to happen. Show me what it is that I'm supposed to learn about this season that I'm in. And those are, things that I share, like I said, not only in the book, but also, in the marriage ministry that we have, and just let you know how God is in that too. Those attacks, those battles, those trials, those storms, if he didn't orchestrate it, he allowed it. And there's a reason behind it. Now it's your job to seek him, to stay in his face, and to be in his presence. And so much that you're asking God, why are you allowing all of this to happen? He desires to let you know what his plan is. He desires to let you know what his will is for your life. He desires for you to use the spiritual gifts he's giving you. He desires for you to walk into the calling that he's called and the path that he set before you. And we tend to run the opposite way whenever life happens, or whenever it feels like our life is going through. We run the opposite way and think God is not in it. And that is the time we need to be running closer to God. Remember, I said the Bible said God is close to the brokenhearted. So again, recap. We dropped the book this year. We got the Pray and Obey Academy this year. All of this is in 2020, y'all. This is how God is just moving in my life. And I don't say that bragging. I just say, when you say yes to the calling, there's some magnificent, wonderful things that God has in store for each and every one of you. We have the Kingdom Marriage Wives ministry going on. And now, God dropped in my spirit. Now it's time to do a podcast. You have a voice that needs to be heard. Put your voice on another platform. You've proven yourself trustworthy, that I could trust you with my sheep. I want you to be my shepherd. There's certain authority that you have in the spiritual realm. It's time for you to speak up. It's time for you to let your voice be heard. And he didn't just call me and then throw me out to do all of this. I had to go through a process. I had to go through the wilderness. I had to be pruned. I had to go through the fire to be purified. I had to go through my storms. I had to go through the crushing process. Y'all, this didn't happen overnight. Those are the parts that I was saying, the ugly, the bad, the part that doesn't feel good. I had to endure all of that. God didn't just get me out of it. He helped me go through it. We have to learn that we have to suffer with God before we can reign with God. I had to carry my cross. I had to pick up my cross and carry it. I had to be crucified to the flesh. I had to, again, be melted and crushed in such a way. Basically, he was the potter and I was the clay. He took my jar and broke it. He shattered it just so he can put me back together again. He had to remove everything that didn't look like him, the things that were displeasing to him, my flaws, my insecurities. I had to get rid of bitterness, anger, things that I've been holding on to since I was a little girl. I had to get rid of all of that. I can't walk into my fulfillment. And if I'm carrying old things, if I'm carrying things that are displeasing to God, if I'm carrying things that weren't mine to carry, I had to die to self. I had to die to my flesh before I was released. So I was prepared and equipped behind the scenes. I felt like God, my life was falling apart and coming together at the same time. I felt like God took my world away just so he could be my world. So it was all eyes on him. So I could focus on him. So I could lean on him. So I could trust him. So I could seek him. And in the midst of all of that, going through that part that didn't feel good, I went through that wilderness. That went on for quite some time. That wilderness is not a fun place to be. But I made it through. But once I came out of the wilderness, I didn't go to my mountaintop. Then I had to go to my valley. He placed me in the valley of dry bones. Your valley is when you go to school for yourself. First, everything that doesn't look like God is cut off of you. It's burned off of you. He's crushing you. He's molding you. He's making you look the way he always knew you to look, the way he always intended for you to look. He's cleaning you up. He's making you pure. He's purifying his gold. Then when you sit in that valley of dry bones, now you're in school of yourself. You have to sit in class and learn things about yourself. You have to look deep within. He starts to show you things that hinder you, things that hold you back. And when you lay down his will, when you lay down your will and submit to his, that's an ugly process because he begins to show you the truth. He begins to show you the things about you that you often hide from yourself, that you hide from him, that you hide from the world. He wants all of your heart, not part of your heart. He wants all of it. And there were times I thought I was surrendering, but God had to speak to me and let me know, you're not giving me all of you. I don't want parts of you. I don't want the parts of you that you're okay with. I want those parts that you're ashamed about. I want those parts that you're bitter about. I want those parts that you're embarrassed about. I want those parts that you've tried to forget about. I want all of that. I need that. I get glory out of that. I can take that burden from you. I can free you from that. I can heal you from that. I can set you free from that. So I had to go through my wilderness. I had to go through my valley in order to get on my mountaintop And as I say this here today, August 20th, I'm not on my mountaintop yet, but I know what God has promised me. I've gone through the wilderness and survived that process. I've gone through the valley, but I can finally see my mountaintop. So I'm not where I was, but I'm not exactly where God has called for me to go yet. I'm still transitioning. It's a process. And I say that just to be vulnerable and transparent with you guys. You know, people tend to think when God calls you that you're fixed overnight. Nah, sis. It don't happen that quick. Like, there's a process. And many people don't enjoy the process because the parts that start hurting, the parts that we have to face when we have to self-reflect and look within, the parts where he makes us leave certain things behind, certain relationships behind, certain people behind, certain habits behind, things behind, again, that can't go with us into the next season. We have to put that to death. I had to stand over my grave, basically, and look at everything that I've always known. I had to unlearn everything that I've always known. So therefore, I had to release all the old so I can make room for the new. That's how you get your heart transplant. That's how you're transformed. That's how you're made new again. It's amazing now that I'm on the other side. Going through it, if I'm being honest, it didn't feel like that. You know, you hear sermons tell you, oh, you know, it'll be worth it. All things are working together for your good. I'm like, this can't be. This is not of God. God loves me too much to let me go through this. But again, that was my ignorance and my lack of maturity, my lack of knowledge. I wasn't educated that God is in that too. I wasn't educated on how he takes you through. You have to go through before you can come out. Everybody wants to come out. But what are you coming out of? He can't bring you out until he takes you through. So I had to go through that process. And I'm thankful. And not just at the tangible things, not just because I wrote and published a book, not just because I have the Pray and Obey Academy, not just because I'm a part of the Kingdom Marriage Wives Ministry, not just because I'm doing podcasts now, but I'm a new woman. I now look in the mirror and see who God created me to be. I now know what I possess. I now value my calling. I now value my spiritual gifts. I now know how powerful my anointing is. And now I can go out and release it to the world. I can go out and offer help someone that's broken, help someone who has the same scars that I have. Oh, sis, you're going through this. Let me tell you about my God and how he brought me out. Oh, sis, your marriage is going through this. Let me tell you about my God and how he's reconstructing and renewing and just restoring and resurrecting mine. Oh, sis, you're going through this. Let me tell you about how God pulled me out of that. That's part of my purpose. I've learned spiritual gifts that I have that I didn't even know I was worthy or capable of doing. And God has the same thing for each and every one of you. But you have to say yes. You have to lay down your will and submit to his. You have to surrender, completely surrender, and then go through the process. It's easy to trust him when you know what's next. But can you trust him when you don't see a way? Can you trust him when it doesn't make sense? Can you trust him when it hurts? Can you still trust him and praise him? And in doing so, God has a promised land for you. God has a Canaan for you. That's where the children of Israel were set to go, to Canaan, to their promised land. And if you remember, God took them, he had Moses freed them from slavery from Egypt. They had to go through the wilderness as well, but they spent 40 years in the wilderness. It wasn't even supposed to take that long. Oftentimes we're in seasons just because of our attitude, just because we're complaining. It's a process that we have to go through, but God has plans to prosper you and to not harm you. And I'm just excited about what he's doing in my life. I'm excited that he trusts me with such a valuable assignment. I don't take my assignment lightly. So I know as you guys listen to these episodes of podcasts that I have, those current and those upcoming, that it'll touch your heart as well. I pray that it'll minister to each and every one of you, that it'll touch your heart and open your heart and give you the very word that God intended for you to receive. So you can discover your purpose, so you can walk into your calling, so you can manifest everything that God has called you to do. And as long as he gives me the voice and continues to download into my spirit, I'm going to be that empty vessel. I'm going to be his mouthpiece and hands and feet here on the earth. I want to take these spiritual journeys with you. I want to tell you and share about how mighty, how amazing our God is. Even when it doesn't feel good with the things he's doing, I've been there. I know what that feels like when no one else in the world understands. I know that feeling. I know that feeling when the enemy is in your head and telling you, no, you can't do that. Remember, you did this. but I also know how mighty my God is. I know how wonderful my God is. And I just want to say thank you again to each and every one of you for even taking the time to listen to my story. I felt like it was only appropriate for me to introduce myself. I have so much more content, so much more that God is sharing with me. And as he gives it to me, now I have to release it to you. Share this podcast with someone. Share this. I don't even know if it's a channel or station. Jesus, fix it. Jesus, I don't know which one it is, but share it with someone. Share it on your social media. Somebody needs to hear the word. And I want to let me walk on this spiritual journey with you. Walk with me. Let's walk together. Let's walk into the very thing that God has created and called for you to do. Y'all be blessed. Have an amazing day. I'm just excited. I'm excited for everything that God is doing. I'm excited for what's in store because I know I haven't even scratched the surface. God is telling me there's so much more. Y'all be blessed. Stay prayed up. And I will see you guys next time. Feel free to leave me a voice message. I would love to feature some of you guys in my episodes as you leave these voice memos as well. Thank you for your support. Don't forget, you could grab your copy of Pray and Obey, Ready or Not, Here I Come. The information is in the description. You can sign up for my Pray and Obey Academy. That information is also in the description. You could become a part of our Kingdom Marriage Wives Unfiltered marriage ministry on Facebook. That information is also in the description. And I hope to see you guys, that you guys are checking in and just listening to this word that I have to share. I don't claim to be perfect, but I'm definitely progressing. Y'all be blessed, and I'll see you guys next time. Love you. Bye.